We're going to share today the general information about our Shoreline Quiltalong. It starts on June 5th.
We hope you'll be able to join us for this one. It's going to be a very different quilt-along with lots to learn and a lot of fun variations.
I think one of the things that's most interesting about this quilt-along is that it's not a mystery. It's stash friendly, but it's also part of it will be us teaching you how to make changes to a pattern to suit your size needs, your layout, if you want to try something different, the fabrics you have available. And so a lot of it's going to be learning how to make decisions and edits for a pattern to suit your fabric or the size requirements.
Exactly. It's really kind of a coaching that we're going to give you everything you need in order to be successful, but we're giving you extra. The coaching will help you make your own decisions and really personalize this according to your interests, your stash, your size requirements, everything that Weeks mentioned.
So we'll be releasing the instructions along with a video, and that there will be 4 of those on beginning June 5th, weekly, and we will have all the patterns, as always, will be heavily a lot of diagrams to explain the concept, but we'll hold your hand through every step, because this quilt-along does involve templates and curves. And so if you want to learn how to piece curves, this is a great way to learn how to piece gentle curves. They're easy to piece, don't require clipping, and will be satisfying.
Very satisfying. And to start with, it helps kind of get a good idea of the options. So if you look here, we're going to present 3 main size options. We have this kind of queen size. We have a napping quilt, which is what we'll be making throughout. So you'll see our progress on our napping quilt. And when we say napping quilt, that's generally about 4 feet by 6 feet.
A little bit bigger than that in both directions.
And then there's a wall or baby size for those who just kind of want to tiptoe into this. Or actually, one thing we see often is people like to make 2 quilts at once so they can experiment with the design decisions and design content we're discussing.
Or they start with the smaller one and having so much fun to go with the bigger one.
That happens all the time. And so we've got those 3 sizes. That's how we're going to be providing the instructions and the videos, but they're pretty easy to adapt to make smaller or larger as needed. And we will explain that in the installments.
There are also a lot of options in terms of variations for layouts. And you'll be able to see in this illustration just a few of the examples that we have provided to get you started. And so as you look at the variations in illustrations, we'll be making alternating bands of light and dark prints. You could also make this with solids. You could also make it with, depending on which layout you decide to go with, you could do an ombre, you could add a little highlight strip in there at some point. So there are lots of different ways to customize it. But as you look at the variations, think about the fabrics you have, fabrics you might want to purchase for it, because there are so many ways for you to be able to customize it according to your stash.
So we're going to be using a combination of our
so many fabrics.
So many fabrics.
There we go.
Our 2025 limited LTD line, along with a bundle we're calling the spring bundle of lighter fat quarters and fabrics from our stash. So in the first installment, we'll be explaining.
And this is available on our website.
Yeah. Some people have asked about working with solids, and we happen to have our beautiful 25th anniversary bundle that's already split. I'm going to keep that light one out.
Cream out of the way.
That cream, but it's split into darker and lighter fabrics.
This would be perfect if you wanted to use solids.
Beautiful. So there will be links on our website to all of that and
we're
in
gonna
the description.
I'm sorry, we're going to incorporate our scraps
Yeah.
in ours as
But
well.
we're using all prints.
Yeah.
There are going to be lots of people using solids, prints, batiks. You'll get to see, again, we'll cover a lot more in the first installment. Exactly.
And you don't need to have equal amounts of all fabrics. You can use a lot of scraps in this as well, because the minimum size you'll need for a scrap
would be about
1.5 by 10. Something like that.
We're looking at these rows being made of 10-inch strips. So the width of the individual vertical strips will vary from quilt to quilt, but they're roughly going to be between 1.5 and 3 inches. But again, we're going to talk about that variation within the installments. The first installment will cover so much more about fabric choice, but we wanted to give you an idea right now in case you wanted to kind of start sorting through your stash or purchasing new fabrics. You could start building ideas, knowing that first week we're going to talk so much more about the detail of the color thinking and selection that goes into this.
But if you had hundreds of 8-inch long by 2-inch strips left over from jelly rolls or something like that, you could use that. You could adapt the size for your needs.
Yeah, so we're using 10-inch strips. There's, again, lots of flexibility. And in terms of the yardage, it's a little trickier quilt to say exactly how much fabric you'll need, because it'll depend on whether you're cutting thin or thick or wider strips. In general, this chart on screen shows you the amount of fabric most people will be using. Again, the first installment will cover this a lot more.
But at least you'll have an idea of the range of fabrics you will need and the general fabric requirements. There will be, as I said, 4 installments with written instructions and pre-recorded videos for each installment. I know many of you wonder how long you'll have all of that information, and we're saying at least 6 months from the purchase date. So if you are purchasing this in June, you'll have the rest of the year. If you're purchasing this in December, you'll have 6 months from from your purchase date, for sure. It may be longer, but we never know, because sometimes we have to update our website, which then requires us to change access. So, but
half a year.
Yes, you should have a half a year to get going on it.
So let's quickly talk about the process of how, if you want to do this, you'll go first to our website and you'll find the Shoreline Quiltalong and you'll purchase that Quiltalong. So you're putting in your cart, you're paying for it.
And there's going to be a link
Yes.
below this video for getting there.
Absolutely. And then as soon as you've purchased it, you'll get an emailed receipt. And that email has a link on it. Within 60 days, make sure you click on that link.
It just takes a second.
The email will be there within probably 10 to 30 seconds. If you don't see the email, check your junk mail, your spam folder. It'll be there. Then you click that link and it allows you to immediately download what we call the Shoreline Guide to your device. So that's going to go in your downloads folder or wherever your device directs downloads. Then you go to that download. It's a 2-page PDF. Please print that out. Hang on to that. That's all you need to access.
Or screenshot it or something, but you've got to have that because we cannot resend your link.
That is the guide that gets you through everything. Now, on that guide, there is an address to a secret web page that you now have access to. That is called the Beach House. It's a secret web portal page that has everything you need. All of the measurements or the requirements are there. Each of the 4 installments will be posted with a link there to a video and a download page for each of the installments, 1 week at a time.
So you're not going to get the entire pattern at once.
This is
because we want to make sure that you're pacing yourselves in terms of looking at being able to explore each option. And what we found is sometimes if somebody, if we give the entire pattern at once, there are people who will just make it in 2 days, skip all of the learning, and then it kind of takes the air out of the room for everybody else.
Or they make a misstep in terms of like, we want to make sure you have the opportunity to really think through each thing. So
but we want it to be a quilt along. Not a pattern.
Yeah,
it's different from a pattern.
So here on screen again, this is the schedule of the 4 installments. And it gives you a little idea of what we're going to cover each week. So when each installment drops, it will be a printout, a download that you can print out with details and an accompanying video. So lots of fun. That Beach House web portal has all sorts of information on it. It has this schedule. It shows even more variations. We're going to cover even more in the first installment. There's even a Spotify playlist with fun music that will be available starting in June. And
everything is $30 for the entire Quiltalong. All the videos, all the portal, all the support, all of that.
So if you want to get going and you want to have fun and start thinking about options, one of the things on the portal is a single page download. Here's an image of it. And that is a little coloring sheet. Just if you like to pull out your colored pencils or markers and kind of daydream a bit about how you might make your shoreline quilt. The key to it is making sure that the alternating every row, wavy row, is distinctly different from the one next to it, so you can actually see the wave.
And we'll be talking about that in the first video.
A lot more, but you can start playing with it, and we'll be providing lots and lots of support throughout the Quiltalong on the Facebook page.
Well, we're going to have the video for support for this whole thing. It's the video tutorials. Our Facebook group, which now has more than 22,000 people, which is the Modern Quilt Studio Patterns and Fabrics group, that has people will be posting their progress, so you'll be able to get inspiration from their palettes and see their progress as well. We have our Quilts First live chat on the first of every month, so you'll be having that in June as well. The June 1st, before the Quiltalong starts, we'll be answering questions. At some point during the Quiltalong, we'll have a live Q&A. We haven't decided. We're going to sort of see when it looks like it would be most helpful. I'm guessing it's going to be at closer to the beginning.
Probably after the first installment.
Often people want further guidance, or they want specific questions answered before they get sewing, or even after they've gotten sewing, if they want to edit something.
And as always, at the end of the Quiltalong, we'll give people time to finish things up, but we always like to host a virtual exhibition. So usually about a month after the Quiltalong ends, quilters can all upload an image of your quilt, and there will be a virtual exhibition on our website showing all the variations people have made.
And then the coloring sheet will be there as well for you to think about color ideas and to think about proportions and how you might use colors strategically.
So we hope this is getting you excited. We can't wait to see
It's going to be so much fun because, because it's not a mystery, we'll actually be able to talk to you about our layout decisions as we're making the quilt with you. So I think this is really a totally different learning experience because there isn't a narrative for it, but there is the ability to be able to see our process while we're making it and how we're editing and making certain decisions.
So we will see you
at the Shoreline.
At the Shoreline.